All right, welcome back to West of Scotland tour. Um, I'm still in the Kells of Bute, but I've got myself right up here to the Burnt Islands, and then we're going to head for Cala Bay here, and we'll anchor. So this will be a short video, but I've skipped a little bit. I never really had more than a few minutes to sail up here, and it was tacking against the wind, so it's taken a while. Yeah, Kells of Bute. It's this area, as you can see here, around the island of Bute, west coast of Scotland. Here's Glasgow. And I thought I'd show you this in Google Maps because you can't see it in the VR app, even though it's very good. You can't really see the same thing. So here's a photograph, a nice misty day, very typical spring, summer. It could be any time of year. And the Cals of Bute, the Burnt Isles are just there as far as I can tell. And I'm just off this island about there. So we're coming around here and anchoring around the back. There's also a few nice pictures here. Again, so this is Glasgow's up here. That's Greenock, Gourock, Wemyss, Skermley over there. And I've sailed up this narrow part, and I'm going to anchor behind that island there, which is Eilín Dhu and Cala Bay. Let's just go through the pictures. So as I said, there's quite nice green fields along the side with some very nice houses, some farms, sort of a row of trees, sometimes natural woods like this, and sometimes managed forest. And then you have this kind of typical heather moorland that you get in the west coast of Scotland. So you can see some of these nicer houses here. This looks like Tyne Bruch, I think, or Kames. And this is what it's like if you get a nice calm day in the west of Scotland. So a bit of golf. Yeah, so that's how the Kyles look. We've still got straight into the wind. So I'm at about here. So I'm going to go on this tack and then try and tack across like that on this leg. Yeah, let's get back into the boat. And we need to raise the sails again. So I've realised now I can just go all the way down the bottom. That's my laser pointer. And the same with that one. Actually, off the side of the boat here. Yeah, so these are these wee islands, the Burnt Isles. They've always been interesting to me because you sail past relatively close. In reality, they've got this. They're rocky. They're rocks basically with grass growing on them. And these two here are a little bit bigger, and there's actually some kind of ruined building on it. I can't remember what the history is there. And then, as you can see, there's two white marks. So in Marineverse sailing, the buoys and the navigation signals don't show up in daytime. In real life, you actually have buoys, B-O-Y-E-S, B-O-U-Y-S, sitting over there, so you can see them in daytime, of course. But they haven't implemented that. So we're going across there. I'm very interested to see what's modelled. It looks like the terrain geometry is not quite right. So let's get our sails trimmed. So we're kind of in a half wind actually. So the way we trim sails is just checking the speed. Alright, 5.2 is the best way to get. And yeah, we'll come up here and then cross through those navigational beacons between there. So there we go. Sailing, of course, is sort of coastal sailing is interesting because you're in the proximity to the land, you see more happening, and in narrows like this is particularly interesting. One thing I forgot, which I may be able to bring up the browser, is that the tides are pretty big on the west coast of Scotland. So let's do. I don't know if it's the Burnt Isles or the Burnt Islands. Okay, 3 small islands that lie in the Kells of Bute individually, the islands are known by their Gaelic names. Let's go to Wikipedia, see if we can get a picture. Here we go. So yeah, you can see quite nicely in this picture. So see the dark line around the coast, that's the tidal drop. So at low tide, which this looks like, you've got, it's from my memory, it's about 6 or 7 feet, maybe 9 actually in some places, of tidal difference. And then when the tide's up, so that's all seaweed usually, it'll be up to that line there that you can see quite clearly across the islands. And that tide, as you can see, they're called Eilean Froich, sorry, photographed from the paddle steamer Waverley, which is another amazing West of Scotland thing. So the Burnt Isles look like that. You know, there's some significant terrain to them. As you can see, there's a boat motoring through, by the looks of it. There's one of those navigational buoys. I don't know why I'm forgetting it. Port and starboard buoys. So they're not flat like this. And the other really important thing is that there's significant tidal current that goes through here. So as the tide flushes in, goes up these long lochs there that's ridden, I think it is, and striven back on it around there to the left. Oh, I think I can see the ferry now, so the AIS data is back on. And anyway, it flushes out of here and you cannot sail against it in a small boat. In a motorboat you can go through. If you had a very powerful engine in your sailing boat, you probably go through as well. But there's significant tide. So what you do in the west of Scotland is, of course, you set off and you try to catch the tide as it goes maximum speed through here. So even in a slow boat like my stepfather's Gusto, you'd be able to only maybe do 4 knots on that because it's quite a short boat. And but with 3 or 4 knots tide, you would zip through here at 9 knots, you know, over land. So that would be a really good way to get around. So you basically have to sail with the tide. In the west of Scotland, that means sometimes you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning just to catch the tide. So I'm straight into the wind, as you can see. We're going to have, let's see how far I can get close to the wind here. Just our sails. So we're going to have a real job tacking through here. In reality, the northern side there of the Burnt Isles is rocky. You wouldn't go there. So we'll get stuck here. We're going to have to tack in this pretty confined space. Let's get a bit of speed up. Nine knots of wind. So this is going to be tricky, but interesting, I guess, for the YouTube video. So, yep, we're sitting here. And we've no choice but to get as close as we can to this little islet here. And I guess to tack down there. We will go outside of this navigational channel. It's not possible to do it, so we don't have much choice. We'll have to go up here as much as we can and then tack down over there. Not great wind direction. This is exactly when you would turn your engine on, because you basically become a little bit of a navigational hazard because you're tacking across a narrow channel, and of course you can get in the way of boats which are trying to pass here. There could be fishing boats, you get puffers coming through here, and you don't really want to get in the way. So let's just do ready about. We'll just have to see how far we get here. Go. That's okay. As I said, there's definitely something wrong with the open sea map. buoys here, there shouldn't be a double channel here. I reckon 2 reds doesn't make any sense here. So maybe this one in the middle seems a bit obstructive. It shouldn't be there. Again, a little bit of my very limited experience, but you know, going through here, it's a narrows. When you try to pinch and you try to, you know, if you're with the current, that's fine, because we would be going 3 knots in that direction with the current. So the worst case scenario, you know, inexperienced sailor comes through here, you're making 3 knots through the water, and you know, you've got 1 or 2 knots of current, and you'd basically be stuck here, and you'd be saying, you know, why am I not going anywhere? And boats would be coming past, and you would be stressed, and there's rocks all around. If you lost your rudder or a sail got tangled up, you quickly get into trouble here because it's a narrows. So again, another reason you'd ideally stick your engine on, wait for a better wind direction, or, you know, at very least just go through with the tidal flow there. You need to watch if you're going through the tidal flow. You know, if you're not sailing through the water forward, you're just sitting in the water and it's pushing you through. You're basically like a kayak going down river, and you don't have any steerage unless there's water flowing over your rudder. So these are things that you need to watch as well. So again, there's several reasons why you put your engine on, I think. So we'll probably be able to tack across there. You'd be getting into real shallow stuff here. We'll do a tack and then we'll have a look and see what we can see on the satellite imagery here. So ready about, Leo. I'll grab the wheel here so I've got a little bit more control. And pull that jib in. And I'll let the main out a little bit just to help it turn. Oh. So the wheel actually stays in place just now. And way through the tank there. Oh, sometimes the wheel sticks, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. Right, we're in a pretty good tack there. So like I said, we'll go here. Google Maps and satellite. So yeah, as you can see, deep water here. You can see there's rocks here. That one looks like it's on the surface. These look like they're under the water. So you wouldn't go through here. There seems to be some fishing nets here though. Probably locals go through there. There's some lucky person with this house right on the water. So you might get locals in there, but that's not the way to pass through. So we've just come through here. Yeah, two buoys. So actually it's saying that you need to turn to go through there safely on larger vessels. So you can just about see the water's a bit lighter there, but that could be just pixelation. But I've basically come across to here, and then I'm tacking off in this direction. You can see the other side's pretty good as well. There's just one navigational marker there, seems to be. That's an anchorage, seems to be. And then we're coming into Cala Bay. Over here, there's that rock on that side, so usually you come in this way. Right, let's get back. So what we'll do, take a bearing using the map. .282, half a nautical mile. So we see it's quite a small distance we've got to do. 282 is straight into the wind. So tack up here as much as we can. We have to tack down and then up like that. So the course looks like it will be what we're doing now, 325. Try and do something like that. Again, a little bit closer to the wind. Try and keep our speed up. Right, so that's us through the Burnt Isles. That part of the Kyles goes past Tynabrugh, which is over there, so that's a very nice little west of Scotland town. And it looks like Cala Island is just here. You can see a low-lying piece of land. It looks quite big. Right left to the left. Over there somewhere, directly where the wind's coming from. There away, but we get a bit more speed. So all the bad things ever happened to me in a sailing boat are always because you're going too slow. You can't tack, you can't manoeuvre. I did a regatta this year where I just let the boat slow down too much going round a mark, and then of course we missed it and we had to do a 360, and there was a whole bunch of boats bearing down on us, so I actually just turned the engine off and forfeited the race just to get out of the way of all the boats that had the right of way. It was a dangerous situation as far as I was concerned. So hopefully tomorrow I can get a run all the way down the Kells of Bute. This always seems to take a while, that bit's quite a long stretch down and around this peninsula, and Tarbot's on the other side of that. So Tarbot's famous because of the West Highland Week, the big sailing race. And I've not been during West Highland Week, but I've been there with my friends. I took my friends sailing. When I was at uni, I was allowed to take the boat out by myself, and I took them. Did we get to Tarbot? I think we went to Tarbot. And it takes a day, of course. It's not super long distances here. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. So while we're here, I found a good video. Not too sure why wasn't showing up here. Yeah, so these guys, what's their channel name?
And it starts first time.
Tarbot sailing.
Quite a breezy day. We're just heading out of the harbour.
So an English
with a
couple
plan to go to the Kyles of Bute.
they made a fantastic
We're possibly
video
having
here.
a change of plan and going for a sail around Bute. So anyway, it all depends on how far we've got to go to Gareth Head, which is the southern end of Bute, just here. So I'm going to stick. One of our favourite anchorages coming up is Donegal Bay. Again, absolutely useless in a westerly, but a beautiful spot with a lovely walk up to the top of the hill. How are you doing, Skipper?
I'm doing very well. I have managed to miss hitting Bute so far.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll skip ahead because I actually go through the Kyles about here.
Well, we've had an absolutely fantastic run from Tarbot all the way around Gareth Head, up past Rothsea and into the East Kyle. And
the East Kyle, so there you go, you see beautiful hills. There's the little ferry. Mentioned it to you before, it's a very short crossing. Comes on, just pops across there. One of the shortest crossings I think I've ever seen. They're anchoring in the Burnt Isles, you'll see. Typical. See the sky, quite realistic.